Welcome to the Bipolar Buzz podcast, where we slice stigma surrounding mental illness one episode at a time, and we give others courage to do the same. I am your host, Lay, a wife, mom, daughter, sister, coworker, and friend who also lives with bipolar 1 disorder. So, without further ado, let's slay. If you were to ask someone, what do you think is the number one reason that social media is bad for you? What you're going to hear is mental health. Mental health, mental health, mental health. But what does that mean? And then they might say, well, it negatively impacts your mental health. And what I want to do in this video is be specific about that. And kind of unpack what it means that social media negatively impacts your mental health. And I'm not saying that social media is all bad for everybody, but in this particular podcast episode, that is what I want to focus on. And in a future episode, I'm going to discuss more of the positive impacts and the positive ways that social media can help or improve your mental health. So, social media is not reality, as we know. People post what they want you to see. They portray themselves in such a way that they might seem perfect to someone else who's kind of looking in from the outside. And it makes it so easy because you can pick and choose what you want to post. You can edit and Photoshop what you want to post. So really, you only see what I'm allowing you to see. And another reason that people might say that it negatively impacts your mental health is that people are spending too much time on social media. And so I think that this conversation can really be split into a quality versus quantity conversation. And you hear quality and quality over quantity a lot when people are talking about friendships or when they're referring to sleep, which I will actually get to towards the end of this conversation. But when I say quality, I'm referring to who you're following, what you're reacting to, and how you're engaging with other people on social media. And then quantity is just referring to how much time you're spending exposing yourself to social media content. So, social media research shows contributes to mental health problems like stress, anxiety, and depression, especially in adolescents who, as a whole, spend more time on social media than adults do. And there are even studies that suggest that social media usage can even lead to psychiatric illness. So, all mental health problems do not qualify or meet diagnostic criteria to actually be considered an illness or a disorder. But if you do have those criteria that meet that disorder, some people say that social media could be a reason for a diagnosis. And so when I say stress, social media contributes to stress that you might be feeling. I'm referring to the need to constantly check your notifications or to portray yourself as someone that you're not, or the need to always be doing something. So I've got to earn the degree, I've got to get the job, I've got to marry the person, I got to have the baby, or whatever the case is. It's almost like a competition, an unspoken competition between people. And then anxiety. So this can be a fear of actual or even perceived rejection from other people. So once you post something, you might be wondering, maybe over wondering, what people are thinking about you or how they're reacting to that thing that you posted. And you might be wondering, well, how do I compare to my peers or others, that I follow or who follow me? And then, of course, there's FOMO, the fear of missing out. So, people are posting all these trips and vacations, and I did this and I did that, and you're not doing it. So, it might cause a lot of anxiety in you because you feel like you're not living up to this standard that social media has kind of set for society. And also, social media, at least using it a lot, could possibly make you less comfortable with in-person or face-to-face interactions. And stress and anxiety like this can lead to depression because you internalize those feelings. So you're thinking, I'm not as blank as the next person. So I'm not as pretty, I'm not as well off, I'm not as educated, I'm not as rich. So then you start to feel sad or isolate, and you don't enjoy things that you once did. Also, social media makes it easy to become the victim of harassment on a large scale. So, people gossip, and there's public humiliation and cyberbullying, and all of that, of course, contributes to your mental health. And then when I say quantity, there are actually correlations with your mental and physical health. One of those physical health aspects being your sleep. So, sleep problems can make you feel more anxious, more depressed, and I've experienced this, but even trigger mania or psychosis. And you might be wondering, well, what does your sleep have to do with social media? It's like this addictive nature to social media. So you spend hours, scrolling, posting, reacting, commenting, etc. And a lot of people, especially younger people, they wake up on the phone, they go to sleep on the phone. The phone is always within their reach, even when they're sleeping. So even you might, subconsciously do this, but just pick up your phone if you wake up in the middle of the night, and just your thumb just kind of leads the way, and next thing you know, you're on TikTok or Instagram, and then you've been up for hours, and it's time for you to get up and go to work, and you've missed out on sleep that you should have been getting, and sleep that actually helps to improve your mental health. There is a lot of research that says that less time spent on social media likely improves your mental health. And then another aspect that I wanted to touch on as far as the quantity of the social media that you expose yourself to is quite literally the numbers. So the number of likes. For instance, I posed this question that I asked at the beginning of this episode at the Bipolar Buzz on Instagram and Facebook, and I got a response and from an acquaintance of mine, and he said that our brains have not evolved to understand or process disagreement or acceptance in such massive numbers. And the way he phrased it, it really kind of made me think about that some more. We give people access to our lives on social media, the parts that we choose to share with them, and they can express how they feel about that part of our life behind a screen. So they can do it anonymously, they can do it nicely, they can do it hatefully, and most of the time you're not going to ever see this person, because social media and the internet has just opened up our access to all kinds of people that we otherwise would never have met. So this opens the door to psychological distress, and I think that we just have to be very careful about how we engage on social media. So I don't think that in and of itself social media is a bad thing, but I do think that how you're spending your time, or what you're choosing to engage with, has a lot to do with the state of your mental wellness. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bipolar Buzz podcast, where we have the courage to slay stigma. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe for more and share with a friend.